I was actually contemplating on resigning.
Yup, that was a real footage of me quitting my $200,000 software engineering job to become what the world needs the most. A clothing brand owner. And here's how it went.
On resigning.
Yeah, you're not gonna make it out of hood, my guy. You're gonna be homeless.
No, he didn't say that. But that's what it sounded like in my head. Today, I'm the co-founder of a clothing brand, HOUND Archives, with more than 220,000 followers on Instagram and earning more than 7 figures in our very first year. But like the same time last year, I was still a software engineer in Atlassian. If you don't know what that is the Google of Australia. Pretty much that's the biggest company, one of the biggest companies around here. And for what it was, like my parents were pretty happy with me, you know? Other than being a doctor or a lawyer, this was a close third. I went to a good uni, studied a good degree, got good marks, went to a good company, was getting a good salary, you know, the whole package. Then I quit. I feel like unlike most people, I didn't quit my job because I hated my job. I actually thought it was a great job. It was a great company, had like really good people, the work was fun, the pay was good. I honestly could not complain. But I think I always knew I wanted to build something that was like my own. But not at the cost of my future, of course, so I had to make sure my plan B looked so good, it could have been a plan A. So even throughout the entire time I was in uni, I was working on a variety of random projects. Campus apps for students, or like dating apps for friends. You know, there's a lot of app stuff because I was a software engineer. But then I will also do physical stuff, like something I did was called like a lenticular puzzle. Pretty much I will print a couple of frames, like 5 to 10 frames of an animation onto a puzzle. Pretty much the technology we're looking at allowed us to animate this puzzle just by looking around it. Video demo that we got here. This is literally us sliding a sheet of glass back and forth on this print that we had done. But it literally looked like magic. But yeah, that's a whole nother story. So after I worked on HOUND for well over a year, I decided this might be the one. Like I'm gonna finally make the jump for. Obviously my Asian parents were against it. But you know what I realized? Parents make mistakes too. And I guess I just didn't want to spend my life blaming my parents for my life not working out, making mistakes they told me to make. Okay, so now this was actually one of the most common questions my friends were asking me at the time because it had nothing to do with what I was studying. For a short recap, pretty much I was making content at the time in order to distinguish myself from every other Asian dude making skits. Something I would do is wear the same outfit in every single video. So it's almost like a costume. So people will remember me as the Asian guy in a vest. But then people start asking me where I got my hoodie and my utility vest from. Brands started sliding into my DMs offering to pay me to wear, you know, their clothes in my videos. And I thought to myself, if I could generate this sort of value for other brands, why not my own brand? Yeah, that was when I started my first clothing brand, Villanok. Yep, that was the name of the first brand I decided to launch. Back then, that shit was tough. That shit was tough. It took me a long time to launch that brand because I made virtually every single mistakes I could make along the way. My manufacturers were changing my logo because they thought it would make it look better. COVID was messing with my turnover timelines on samples. But yeah, eventually in July 2023, I launched it and it's still up today. You can actually find it on villanok.com, but don't order anything because those I have to physically hand pack and I cannot be bothered. And around the very same time, I met another content creator that you might know as King Henry. We linked up at the time because we both made content and there weren't that many content creators in Sydney at the time. We'll just hang out. Like we'll go clubbing, we'll go attend festivals, nothing productive. But at the end of 2023, Henry came to me and said, yo, let's make another clothing brand and let's call it See the Vision. And honestly, I was down, but you know, let's revisit the name. So on Jan 5th, 2024, we put up to Town Hall Starbucks with no name, no money, no clue what we're making, but we had a vision. We had a vision that we're gonna be rich millionaires. Over the next 3 months, we fleshed out exactly what the brand's gonna be, as well as skipping all of the mistakes that I've already made the first time. Most importantly, we built the iconic HOUND logo. As you might have noticed, it is vaguely inspired by the silhouette of a bat. Why the silhouette of a bat for the HOUND logo, you might ask? No correlation. We just thought it was tough. By April 11th, we were ready to drop the pre-order for our hoodies. We had like no expectations. We had no understanding of who's even gonna buy this. But we went live, and within minutes, the orders came flooding in. We were getting 50 orders per minute. Our phones were blowing up. Henry and I were calling each other like, yo, we are rich. We are millionaires. Then it stopped. Our Shopify payment portal crashed, rejecting every single customer that was trying to check out because I've never seen motion like this. No. Turns out it's because if your business is registered as a partnership in Australia, Shopify requires both your IDs, which was not made known to me when I was setting up the Shopify store, so thanks Shopify. But we ended up opening up the pre-orders again the week after, totaling to about 400 units on a hoodie we haven't made yet. So the official release ended up being around August because we had to wait through the Chinese New Year, and we sold another 1,000 units on the official release in less than 20 minutes. And back then we still packed everything ourselves. Like we would have to like pick all the orders out, we'll have to print all the labels out, and we'll make like one mistake in every 20 orders. We'll have to carry all the boxes in and out of this place, and we'll have to wait for Australia Post to pick up all our stuff the next day, hoping it doesn't rain. But that's how it all started. See, I always believed if you can communicate a product, you can sell a product. Because look at
Gaga, she's the creative director of Polar.
No, but what does make us different is one key philosophy, I reckon. And it's that we are trying to make things for ourselves. What that means is that when we design a piece of clothing, we are only thinking about if we can make it look good for us. Because if we can't even make it look good, if we can't convince ourselves like it and believe that it's gonna look good, how can we convince our own customers? So that's a huge driving factor. And that philosophy goes into how we design the shape of our hoodie. Because hoodies are usually always very baggy, very oversized, meant to be very comfortable to wear, you know, even if you've got like a belly going on. But I think when we designed it, we thought that we wanted to actually contour to people with tight waistlines. That means it had a snatch fit that no other hoodie was trying to achieve at the time. And that philosophy kind of goes into our compression shirts as well, as you see the one I'm wearing right now. We will make whatever we think is gonna look good, even if it violates a lot of conventions. Conventions that these compression shirts break is that we are putting a non-stretchy, reflective vinyl material on a very stretchy fabric. And sometimes what that means is that you might have cracks in these vinyls if you try to stretch the fabric, but that is a sacrifice we're willing to make.
I am willing to make.
Because these reflective vinyls are sick, especially when you take flash photos with them. We will die on this hill. It looks freaking hectic. And thirdly, we are willing to invest in things that no other brand is willing to invest in. For example, if you haven't been on our website, you might see that this is actually one of the most custom experience you've seen on a clothing brand website. Partly because I'm a software engineer and I coded it myself. These days with a bit of help as well. It's also because most other brands are too worried about what they call conversion, which just means converting your money in your pocket into the money in their pockets. Whereas for us, we care a lot about how do we build an experience? How do we make things interesting? How do we give people a wow factor that I have not seen this before from another brand? And I guarantee you no other brand is willing to invest in that because it doesn't make money. Thankfully, that is what our customer appreciates about us as well, which is what has taken us to today. So as you might have noticed, it actually took me a long time before I came to the decision that I was going to quit my job. I'm a very risk-averse person. A lot of friends told me that I think after the pre-order or maybe the first drop, they would have quit the job already. But I always want to make sure that we could do it again. Like, the conditions were constantly changing. Even at the time when I was quitting, I was actually about to be promoted. I was like 2 months out from being promoted. There was another like round of like vesting of stocks coming out, there was bonus coming. I think with some of these good companies, there is always a carrot dangling in front of your head. And that's when I realized there is no perfect time. There is really no perfect time. And this is how that call went on a random one-on-one with my manager.
Like, sorry, first of all, I definitely appreciate that. Like, I think it's pretty clear to everyone. Like, you obviously have shit going on behind the scenes, which, you know, some people have families, some people have hobbies, and you have...
Honestly, my manager was actually very supportive. Like, I think out of all of the, I guess, people leaving the team, I was actually once one of the voluntary ones. And he was very, like, supportive of it. But you could still hear my hesitancy in my voice because I spent years studying this degree and I fought tooth and nail to get into this job, which was honestly my dream job as a software engineer in a dream company. But at some point of building that dream side hustle, you have to be ready to make the leap. So was quitting my $200 job worth it? Yes, of course. I think by far the most rewarding part about quitting a job is that you can finally make everything water the same plant. I think for the longest time, I was trying to juggle between all the things I was doing and trying to prioritize and make sure I'm not spending too much time trying to do one thing when the other thing was a real opportunity. But now I can make everything funnel into the one business. Now, some people say, you don't work a day if you love your job. I actually think the opposite is also true. Like, if you turn what you love into your job, you will never work a day in your life. I'm building gamified RPG websites for my brand that no other brand was ever gonna pay me to do for fun, literally for the love of the game. I'm working on and building the NSX that we're using for the brand photo shoots because we love cars. We go traveling for photo shoots. Come on now, because we love traveling. I genuinely believe if you put what you love into your work, other people will feel it too. In marketing, there is this term called unfair advantage. And the idea is pretty simple. What is an unfair edge that you have over other people that they cannot duplicate? And your unfair advantage is always going to be you being you. You will be you better than anybody is going to be trying to be you. Sounds dumb, but think about that. So if you manage to watch this whole thing and you think to yourself, what should I do? Should I quit my job? Here is my actual advice. As Evan Guan, someone who was in your position just a year ago. Don't quit if you think it's gonna make your life easier. Quit because you're gonna be able to do what you love to do. And a lot of it, because it's not less work, it's a lot of work, but hopefully you love it. And if you're thinking to yourself, oh, doesn't that mean I will get less time to do what all my friends are doing? Or am I not missing out on my social life, etc.? Something I actually lived by for a long time was that if you don't want to be like everybody else, you have to stop doing what everybody else is doing. If you haven't, check out the Hound website, not because you're gonna buy anything, but just to check out my love child with coding and gaming. If you haven't, check out the Hound Instagram, just to check out what unconventional stuff we're doing with our marketing, and peep our unreleased t-shirts, and hopefully I'll see you again.